What's up, everybody? You're watching Tavern Talks. I am joined today by a new guest, Mr. Iron. What is going on?
Hello, thank you for having me.
Also known as the Voice of Iron on YouTube. I'm going to put a little link there so you guys go check him out. He does some audio and voice recording stuff, a number of things that we're going to get into in just a little while. But if you haven't already, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you guys are notified when new content comes down. We are constantly making these things. Happy New Year to everybody. I know this podcast is a little bit late. I was hoping to get one out last Friday, but I got sick. And I'll tell you why I got sick. I got sick at Holiday Matsuri, the convention, where I met Mr. Iron here. It was a really interesting convention this year. What do you think? What are your thoughts on HOLMAT this year?
Oh, it was. I've been going to HOLMAT off and on since about 2016, with a big break around COVID.
Oh, yeah.
They used to hold it at the Marriott World Center until this year, as they had a record number of guests last year. I believe it was 20,000.
My gosh.
I know, it's ridiculous. I mean, like, you wouldn't expect that a building would have that capacity at any given point. I mean, it wasn't all at once, it's over the course of the 3 days, but I mean, seeing how crowded it was last year, I believe it, actually. But the Orlando Convention Center is really cool, but you could certainly tell they were getting used to the new venue. In fact, you and I met waiting in a line to get our badges, all because they had trouble with the changes.
Oh my gosh, yes. That was really interesting, because, like, you know, I get it. You know, you're moving to a new venue. Mm-hmm. You have to deal with a lot. I mean, from the sounds of it, I think they even went well over 20,000 people, because I heard that the previous year was like 20,000, and that was the whole reason for, it was the Marriott World Center to basically say, hey guys, too many people, we can't do this anymore. You're going to have to find somewhere else to host this. And it just, so happened that the Orange County Convention Center happened to be the place to do it.
Oh yeah.
But no, I'm 100% with you, because I bought my badge back in September, I think. It was like mid-September.
Wow.
And I went over onto the Discord. For anyone who knows about Holiday Matsuri or has gone or is interested in going in the future, they do have a Discord. It's pretty inactive right now, but probably around September, October of this year, take a peek and, go check it out. There's a lot of conversations, and I appreciate the transparency from the staff. But even so, like, I know a lot of people, there must have been 20, 30 threads at least of people just asking, like, hey, when are you guys going to ship the badges? Because It's like late November and the convention's in a couple weeks. And they're like, don't worry, we're going to ship them. It's like usually first week of December. Well, they were right. December 7th, they shipped the badges and they did not arrive. And I joked about this. I literally posted on the Discord like, hey guys, check this out. My badge arrived. I can't wait to go to Holiday Matsuri the day after it was over.
That's incredible, because we ordered ours, my wife and we ordered ours around like November. And of course, I figured maybe that is a little late, but to the same degree, they said, no, as long as you order before December 1st, you're fine. They're like, yep, it's going to ship around the 7th-ish. Nothing. I still don't have mine. I don't know where it went. I'm not sure what eldritch being consumed the mail from the U.S. Postal Service. But whatever sacrifice it was made to, I'm sure it's very, very powerful, because we were not alone in that line. And
no, not even close. I mean, there had to have been over a couple thousand people in that room. Now, granted, not everyone was waiting for their badge for, shipping. I think we made up probably a quarter of the room. But even so, like, there was a good 100 or 150, 200 people at least in line with us that were going to get their badges. And I'm sure there were far, far more people that ended up needing them, but then, didn't get theirs in time. For me in particular, I know, watching the shipping notifications and everything, mine ended up at the Orlando Seminole Distribution Center, which for anybody who lives in the Orlando metropolitan area and has ever had anything shipped through that particular center knows they are notorious for holding packages, because mine arrived there December 10th, if I'm not mistaken. So it was like 3 days after they shipped it. I was like, cool, it's going to be on time. Right. Nope. They held it for 2 weeks.
Wow. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
And, you know, I heard some other complaints. I'm not going to put too much on HOLMAT. This was my biggest complaint with them, was just the fact that the lines and everything, the signage too, but we'll get into that in a minute. The issue that I had as well, and I heard a lot of people talking about, was even if you got your badge, it didn't come with a lanyard. So you still had to go wait in line for a lanyard, which is like, I don't know why you wouldn't just ship that too, but maybe they got it elsewhere. I don't know. The whole thing was, it felt like it could have been handled better. Granted, growing pains, so I'll give them that much.
I was gonna say, that was the thing that I heard the most, was a lot of people did give them a little bit of slack and say growing pains. I mean, that didn't mean that people didn't complain, but especially in the Artists Alley, they were like, we're definitely gonna tell them about this, but they didn't seem angry so much as like just frustrated. I ultimately think that the people were doing a pretty good job overall, which is to say the con staff did a pretty good job given the circumstances, but there's plenty to learn from. You mentioned signage, for instance.
Yeah, like I mean, I think there were at least 4 or 5 different threads of like people giving feedback at the end, basically just saying the same thing, like, hey, you know, I had no idea how to get around this place. And for anybody, this is specifically the Orange County Convention Center West Concourse. And I know that because when my sister and I went, we went to the North Concourse, not recognizing that, hey, it's not even in the same building. Like, you have to walk across like a quarter mile of Sky Bridge to get to that thing. And, you know, it was fine, but we had no idea where we were going, as with probably few hundred other people that were also headed that way. It was very strange to see a bunch of nerds in cosplay kind of wandering the streets looking very lost. It looked like someone wandered out of another dimension or something. Just, it got isekai'd into this world. But before we go on, I think we'll give a little tickler to our listeners as to exactly what HOLMAT is. For those of you that do not know or have not been, Holiday Matsuri is an anime convention in Orlando that usually takes place right before Christmas. Matsuri literally means party or celebration in Japanese. So it is, it's a really unique convention. And I've heard this from a lot of people saying that, like, you know, they've been to other conventions and whatnot, but this one in particular is very special because not only is it right before Christmas and very festive, but you also get all like the Christmas cosplay, where it's someone will take a character that they, you know, is beloved or, you know, pretty well known, and they'll dress them up in Christmas garb. If you've ever watched like cosplay videos, some of our favorites are like Justin Pineda Media, Mineral Blue cosplay, and a few others that we kind of pop in and out and watch those. And you'll see the Holiday Matsuri ones. They've always got a bunch of people dressed up, you know, Santa Claus or Christmas versions. I think my favorite cosplay that I'd seen from this convention that was Christmas themed was specifically the, I guess he was the bomb fiend, I think, from Chainsaw Man. But it was like all wrapped up in like garland and mistletoe and stuff. Like, it was a very interesting looking. It was like a candy cane wrapped. But so it definitely, if you get the opportunity to go this coming year or any year, I strongly recommend it. I had a great time. This was actually, believe it or not, my very first legit convention.
Really?
It was. And I've been toying with the idea for years, but the finances and the timing just never worked out. And I basically said, you know what, this year I'm going to make a square peg fit in a round hole. It goes in the square hole. For those,
everything goes in the square hole.
That's right. It goes in the square hole. But I definitely had an absolute blast. I know my sister had a great time. The walking annihilated us. I think we ended up walking 22 miles or something to that extent.
Good cardio.
A very good cardio. Which is funny because then, you know, on top of being sick, and I know I sound like I'm just complaining now, but on top of being sick, we cut down the tree in our front yard, and we've been like cutting up, you know, debris and whatnot. Well, my dad and I were loading a wood chipper the other day onto a trailer, and the thing was 350 pounds. It kind of slipped and partially crushed my left foot Unfortunately, it hit the heel, so it was severe bruising. I still can't walk quite straight on it right now, but it missed my Achilles tendon by about a half inch.
Yeesh.
Which if
at least it missed the critical part. You know?
Yeah, which is like the heel is a weird part of the body because like there's no muscle in it as far as I know. I don't think there's any muscle in it. It's
anatomically not really. It's more of like a bone protrusion wrapped within a protective outer layer, and then of course extra thick skin at the base in order to. I grew up in a bit of a medical household.
Oh, there you go.
But. Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, it's designed to be durable. It's very much designed to absorb impacts as you're moving. Doesn't mean that you should put all of your weight on it all the time, but in short, it's good that you hit your heel and not the tendon.
Oh yeah. Well, coming from a medical background, you know, there's no tendons in that spot. There's no, you know, critical organs or anything that could get messed with in that. But you know what? There are a lot of in the heel, nerve endings. I was rolling around on the floor. I mean, let's put it this way. I've sliced, you know, I've sliced my finger open with a buck knife by accident. I've had wisdom teeth removed. I'm not a stranger to pain. Like I get beat up all the time doing yard work and stuff. This is the point I was actually like, it was just like waves of pain, and I was actually getting nauseous from it.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah. I was like, I definitely bruised the bone, but I'm just glad I didn't like fracture it. I don't think, because I can actually put pressure on it now and it doesn't like
that's good
kill me. So, but I'm just thinking like, I'm glad this happened now after HOLMAT and not before, because I would be dying right now.
Yeah, you would have been dead. You would have been gone. You would have needed a cosplay that explicitly prefers that you not use your leg.
I would have to go as Dr. Xavier? Is that right?
Professor X?
Yeah, Professor X, yeah. Just rolling around in the chair. Get me the bald cap, because I wouldn't have been able to.
That said, I actually saw some very unique disabled cosplay. Just as like a side tangent. The one that I remember the most was someone was Ariel from The Little Mermaid, but they touched up her wheelchair and made it into like a seashell throne.
I saw that. That was so cool.
That was such a good idea. I always love when someone can incorporate something like a wheelchair into their cosplay. Like, sure, it's great that we have characters like, say, Professor X or Oracle from DC, who by default, you can just bring your wheelchair to the con. That's awesome. But it's even cooler when people get creative with it. Like, okay, what can I do with this? And the Ariel with the seashell throne, that's the one that stuck out to me. I thought it was super cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. As far as the disabled cosplay goes, that definitely I think that one took the cake. There were definitely some really intricate, interesting cosplays. One that stuck out to me, my sister and I noticed, but we didn't get a chance to get a picture with them or anything. So first of all, I got to note there were a lot of has-been and Hell of a Boss characters. Like they. Besides Dandadan, which 100% hands down was probably Momo was the most cosplayed character. I would say the has-been characters were pretty close as a second, but just like as the grouping, there were so many of them. There was this one guy who's dressed as Adam, and he had a backpack that had like LEDs in it that was actually just like playing scenes of Adam on it as he's walking around. I'm like, that is really cool. I don't know how you made that, but that is awesome.
That's incredible. Was that the guy who had the digital mask that actually like emoted when he emoted behind the mask?
It's possible, because we didn't actually see his face. We could only tell he was Adam from the rest of the costume. He happened to like walk by at an angle that we didn't see his face.
Right.
So that could have been it. I love digital masks. I think they're so cool.
They are.
I'm actually thinking about
expensive as heck, but
about doing a cosplay in the future. Let's put it this way. Are they my favorite band? Probably not, but I do admire them. Daft Punk.
Oh heck yeah!
I think they're so cool, and I think the cosplays with the two from Daft Punk is really, really, really cool. Just like
incredible,
especially when you can get the lights working proper. Like, oh my gosh, they're so neat. So maybe in the future I'll do something with that. I've actually never attempted cosplay, so it would be definitely an interesting experiment to say the least.
Cosplay's fun. I'm definitely not the most adept when it comes to cosplay. I can go through my history of cons in a bit, but this year I kept it pretty simple because something that's important to me is, okay, if I'm going to be walking around in something for 3 days, or at the very least for a couple of hours at a time, not only does it need to look good or like the character I'm going for, but it needs to be comfortable. Last year, I went as Legacy from Beastars because I thought, number one, I can wear formal wear for hours, and that's comfortable. And number two, he has a backpack in the show. That's fine, and I'm gonna need one to carry all my stuff around. So it turned out to be very comfortable and very straightforward. I didn't have any, excessive prosthetics. At most, I had like some ears, and then at one point, a tail to go along with it. But it was pretty straightforward. But this year, I kept it even simpler, and I just got a Star Trek officer's uniform, specifically the one from Deep Space Nine, because the outer layer comes off. So if I get too hot, I can just take that off and have my Command Red shirt underneath and still be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that was a good call, especially because, I mean, there were times that the con got a little warm, but I gotta say, we got extremely lucky. The weather was absolutely phenomenal for the entire convention.
Oh yeah, by Florida standards, 100%, 1000%.
I mean, it was like, I want to say it was regularly in the like 60s and low 70s, dipping into the 50s and 40s a couple times. Clear skies, no rain, low humidity. Like it was, I don't think you could have asked for better weather with Florida, especially around Christmas time. Like,
oh, definitely.
Oh man, but it was an absolute blast. Like, just I think HOLMAT in general was fantastic, and I gotta say, it's got me on a bit of a high that I'm still chasing because I splurged and got my Megacon tickets. We got the
oh my gosh,
we got the 4-day passes.
Good luck. I've been to a handful of cons over the years, but Megacon is one that, for those outside of Florida, that crazy state that if you don't live here, run. But if you're unfamiliar, Megacon is one of, if not the largest conventions in Florida. It's comparable to a state-sized Comic-Con, and even then, a lot of people come from out of state to go to it each year. I mentioned that last year, Holiday Matsuri got around 20,000 people, which was over capacity for what was anticipated. And this year, it was somewhere between 20 and 30,000 by our estimates. I don't have exact numbers, but Megacon has close to 200,000 guests regularly. That's right. Roughly 1% of... No, wait, I'm sorry. Roughly, let's see... 0.5% of the US population if we're going by sheer numbers, because let's see, 400 million, 0.005%, but still like a stupid amount of people. When you can compare anything to the size of the US population and have a number, that's a lot.
Well, to put it into perspective, like the population of Orlando, just Orlando, not the greater Orlando area, is about 200,000 people. So imagine the entire city showing up to one location.
Yeah. Over the course of what, 3 days, 4 days?
4 days. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That is something that my sister's not amazing around crowds, but she had such an amazing time at Holiday Matsuri. I said, okay, if you think you can handle this, we're going to try working up the Megacon. That's going to be a big one. And the moment that I told her I got the tickets, she's like sending me, like fireworks emojis and stuff. She's super excited. So,
that's good.
I especially for an introvert like her, like that's a big deal if she's able to break out of her bubble a little bit and feel more comfortable around specific people. But yeah, no, when you mentioned that the number of people, I didn't even recognize like how much bigger it was. I thought like, oh, it's gonna be like 2, maybe 3 times bigger. No. It even says on their website, like if you like any of these things, and like you mentioned, it's like Comic-Con, but a lot more broad, I think, because it's like you've got comics, anime, video games, TV, movies, like anything that you can be nerdy about. They probably have something at this convention. And they mentioned in there, as I'm getting the tickets, it's like, hey, if you like any of these things, come join us. Don't worry, there's 160,000 others of us. And you're right, it's probably going to be closer to 200,000 this year, just with like COVID convention or COVID lockdowns are pretty much over. People are really kind of resuming life. Just it feels like a new day,
Insanity, absolute insanity. So to that, good luck. I'm not risking Megacon myself. I'm not sure I have the bravery for it. But that said, I absolutely want to hear how it goes at some point, because that's gonna be incredible. Will you be cosplaying there?
So maybe. I have an idea, but I'm also kind of stripped for cash right now.
Fair,
I'm gonna be going this Saturday to be I would say upgrading, but more like replacing and kind of just getting a new motorcycle.
Nice.
I'm a bit of a biker, but unfortunately my bike does not like to bike. Its water pump is basically non-existent, and it's got a heating issue, so I literally can't ride it like at all.
Ooh.
So
that's yeah,
I'm gonna be making payments, so buying cosplay may not be in the question. But hey, maybe I'll find something that is like, hey, I've got clothes just like that character. I guess I could do that if it's just like shaping hair or whatever. Like I could do that. But
one of the best pieces of cosplay advice I ever received was look in your closet. You probably have something that looks like a character.
Yep.
And then just kind of go from there.
I actually thought about cosplaying as Joel from The Last of Us. Specifically like the Pedro Pascal version. I if you've not seen the show, have you seen the show?
I've not seen the show yet. I'm familiar with it, but I have yet to actually watch the show.
Okay, so I'm one of those people that like I had heard all the good things about The Last of Us, but I didn't grow up playing it, or I didn't play the games when they first came out. I'm still kind of hesitant to play it now because I feel like, okay, well now it's gonna be spoilers for the show, but I ended up sitting down watching it because I saw it was like, okay, it's Pedro Pascal, it's an HBO show. It's like, okay, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Westworld, like they make good media. So I'll sit down and watch it.
They got a good track record with production, yeah.
They do, and truth be told, like it was very good. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know that the craze is kind of over. I thought I heard they're making a season 2, but
I believe it.
That's one of those.
It was very successful.
That's one of those characters that I feel like at the end of the day, it's easy enough because he's just a guy. Like he just has like a plaid shirt with a backpack and a rifle, and I've got airsoft rifles. Like I could easily make that happen.
Oh yeah, my buddy, he for simple cosplay, he cosplayed a character from Mob Psycho, and all he needed was a pink tie because he already has the hair color of the character. No need for a wig or anything.
Exactly.
He already had a gray suit. He just needed a pink tie, and he was done. Like sometimes if you already have like the clothes that fit a character, it's cosplay is just as simple as putting it together.
Yeah, and then there's my sister who will literally spend all of her money just to look like specific Tokyo Revengers characters. And she's like, I might do this one character. I think it was it Sanzu? I can't remember specifically. I'd have to ask her. But she's like, yeah, I might do this character, but he requires contacts. I've never worn contacts, but I might do that. I said, you do not do contacts for the first time at a convention. If you've never worn them and like you've never done them for a cosplay, because it's not even like visual contacts, which they make to be as comfortable as they can be. No.
Yeah,
These things are off the shelf. They're gonna irritate your eyes. If you've never worn them, you're not used to them. I said, don't do it for the first time at a convention. That's like wearing heels for the first time at a convention. Bad idea.
Ooh, yeah. My buddy figured that out real fast. His character did have heels, and it was a sacrifice that he made partway through the first day, going, nope, I will not be character accurate in the footwear department because this will kill me. Bro made it about 3 hours to his credit, and then never touched them again for the rest of the con because it nearly killed the man. Mad respect for him.
I can see it. Like, honestly, just any kind of footwear at a place where you're walking so much, anything that hampers your ability to move properly is going to be a massive downset. Like, it's I have full respect to the people that are like, I'm gonna do character accurate stuff, and I'm gonna put all this money on it, and it's gonna be super, like I'm gonna be like photo grade. But it's like, okay, but then look at what these folks are doing. They're not spending 9 hours on the convention floor going through vendors. they go out for an hour and a half, do photo shoots, and then they'll go back to their hotel room where they'll probably change into either a different cosplay or just come out in plain clothes to enjoy the convention.
Oh yeah,
you know?
That Space Marine squad that was going around the convention hall, they showed up. They looked amazing, but I tell you what, I only saw them for about maybe 2 hours over the course of the entire con, and that's because I think they did exactly that. They suited up, they went out, they had a couple of people following them around without costumes, which I assume was probably part of their group.
Yeah.
You know, taking pictures, making sure that nothing fell off. They took a bunch of photos, they went about, they showed off, as they should, and then I didn't see them again, I assume because they probably wanted to be comfortable. That's 100%. A good idea, and I respect the people who are like, I'm gonna do the complex cosplay, but don't go in with the impression that you're going to wear it the whole time. And as long as you have that in your mind, like, dude, go for it, go crazy, do something complicated, but just know you're gonna get an hour or two of that tops before you start to overheat.
Oh, 100%. Just like that, there was another crew. I saw them multiple times. I must have seen them like 4 or 5 times at least during the convention, but never once in full cosplay was the Five Nights at Freddy's crew.
Oh man, yeah.
They had Springtrap, Chica, Foxy, and it's funny because I was watching Justin Pineda Media the other day. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know the guy. I was watching that the other day just to see, like, it's funny, my sister and I were actually briefly in the background of a video, and it was a moment of, hey, Gary, look, there I am. Like,
yes. You know? Oh, I do that at cons sometimes, yeah.
But, you know, just being into the background briefly. No, as we're watching through, we saw the Five Nights at Freddy's characters, specifically Foxy, I think. And I never once saw them, but I kept looking at the gear and I was like, these guys are pros. These are really cool looking cosplays. I'd love to see it on, but they're not going to put it on just so I can take a picture. Like, right. You catch them when they have it on. And honestly, I think a lot of these folks, so first of all, I don't even know, this is a little off topic, but I don't even know how they were allowed to bring in stuff. I think the convention just really wasn't enforcing rules, if I had to say so, because like I never got bag checked. There were a lot of people that could have just been walking around without badges. Like, there was no security at this place. That is one thing I looked funny at HOLMAT for, is like, I'm very surprised you guys let people do that. But they actually brought in, and this is one of the big ones, they said no carts. You can't have like a cart or a wagon or anything like that. They had a straight up like full-size wagon with all of the stuff that they had for the cosplay. And it's like, do you think they got special permission for that, or they just said, screw it, I'm bringing it anyway?
It depends, really. Like, for instance, it's interesting that you mentioned the security, because I actually did see security more than last year. In fact, I saw a couple of sheriffs that they brought in. I know that's not exactly security, but last year there was a bit of a scare towards the end of the con. You know, not to disrespect them or anything, but with 20,000 people. You know, the police did show up towards the very, very end. To my knowledge, one person did end up with like a broken nose at one point.
Oh, geez.
I only know this because a buddy of mine received word from them, because my buddy texted and was like, oh man, we saw an ambulance at the end of the day. And their response to the friend was like, oh, that was me. Hi, I broke my nose. And, yeah, there was, other than like a minor altercation. Anyway, in short, there were some complaints, you might have seen it on the Discord or something, about security. And so this year I saw more police that were actually like there. And to their credit, I didn't hear of any incidents this year of any kind.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because I was actually talking with somebody. My sister and I on Saturday noticed a increased police presence, because we're sitting, we got our food and we're like looking for somewhere to sit. And for everybody who didn't go to HOLMAT, there was this one area they had on the, I'm just gonna say left side of the hall, because I don't even know cardinally what direction it was in, but like the left side of the hall, they had a bunch of these big tables with like 15 chairs around them, so that you could sit down and eat communally with other people, just like either as a really big group, or if you just kind of sit down and, you know, just chill. Like if you just needed to take a few minutes to sit down, they had it there. Well, as we're like looking to sit down, I see this one guy. I don't want to give any details because like I don't know the guy. I don't know the circumstances or whatever. But there was another like HOLMAT guy standing next to him, and I thought maybe they know each other. They're just kind of chatting. But the guy was like, he had the guy standing up, the HOLMAT guy had a suit on, and he's got the earpiece in, and I'm like, oh, he's like high up HOLMAT guy, security type. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on there. I kind of had a weird feeling. I was like, you know what? Let's not sit down at this table. So we went and sat at a different table, and not even like 10 minutes go by and we're watching. And then in walks, a couple sheriff. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they're just keeping an eye on things. We saw a lot of them on the floor. Then in walked another one and another one. And like at the end of it, there were like 7 of them kind of clustered around. Ew. And the way that they were like interacting with this guy, I'm like, I don't know what he did or did not do. Innocent till proven guilty. Right. But it was some kind of altercation to the fact that they had to have police presence there. And the fact they had him like sat down, no handcuffs or anything, but they kept like talking to him kind of made me feel like maybe they didn't want to like humiliate him, but he might have done something inappropriate. Again, I don't want to throw any shade. I don't know who the guy is. I'm not even going to say what he looked like because I don't want anyone to like go out and harass him or anything. Right. But it was very strange because then I looked it up later and there was, like you said, there was no... there weren't any kind of like this incident happened. Like I know last year the whole thing with the Makimas, I heard about that. I didn't even go to it. But I did actually talk to someone who apparently was briefly staffed this year. She mentioned that apparently someone stole a painting from a hotel room and a mattress. And I don't even know how one does that.
How do you steal a hold on. How do you steal a mattress? What high level like rogue heist shenanigans? What?
It's like some Ocean's 11 stuff there.
Right, like first off, why would you? Like, is it just the challenge at that point? Second off, how do you like? Okay, did they get it in the elevator? No, hold it. Did they shove it out the window? What?
Listen. So I'm guessing this is the Hyatt, right? And they're like the premium hotel. This is like where all the really rich people stayed, or people who could cram 12 plus people into a room. Right. Like it's the really nice one. And maybe those beds were really nice and they just wanted to have one at home. But the question of the logistics is really the most confusing.
Yeah. Hold it. Like, you don't take the TV, you take the mattress?
Right. Like a Friends moment. You're stealing the light bulbs. Sure, they'll fit in your suitcase. Mattress. Right.
I'm baffled. Like, cost-benefit analysis. Like, if you're willing to steal something of that size, first off, don't steal. All right, I'm not gonna make any statements here. I would like the YouTube algorithm to know that I'm not encouraging crime.
We at Velvet Games do not condone theft.
Yes, exactly. However, if you're going to commit a crime, right, thought process wise, and you're already willing to mentally be like, yeah, something the size of a mattress, I'm gonna take that. Why on earth do you not just take the television or something, right? Like, logistics wise, it would not be that much. It might even be easier. And it would be more expensive. Like, did they just really, really want the mattress?
Bro really wanted the Tempur-Pedic.
Was this a dare? Like, was someone like, hey, you gotta take the mattress from that hotel? Like, what?
No, I gotta say, this is a Florida man moment if there ever was one. Like,
Florida man goes to local anime convention, steals bed. Yeah, you know what, that fits.
Because that's those moments, those headlines. Oh, we're doing that on this channel sometime. We're gonna read Florida man headlines. That's so funny.
You know what? Yeah, that actually, I forgot. We live in the state of Florida.
We do.
America's Australia. We live in a land of chaos and insanity. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. .webm, you know? Okay, yeah, never mind. That makes sense.
I actually talked with a girl who was, I guess, staying... No, I think she was from Michigan, excuse me. Who was an Aussie, like, I guess a exchange program thing. We were just discussing at one point. I said, oh, you're from Australia? Cool, I'm from the Australia of America, aka Florida.
Yeah. I mean, unironically though.
But that is
Where
so
were
funny.
we? Oh, yes. Conventions. I'm so sorry. We got off a little on a
that's fine. That's what we do here, you know? But have fun with it, because if the conversation flows, it flows. That's just how it goes.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
But yeah, as far as Megacon goes, so we're really looking forward to that. One of the things I'm really looking forward to, and yes, it's more money out and it hurts, and I've already paid it off, so it is what it is, but I couldn't pass this up. They are booking out for people who attend Megacon. I don't even think you have to be a 4-day pass person or whatever. They're booking out the entirety of Islands of Adventure at Universal past 5 p.m.
What? All of it?
Well, the entire Islands of Adventure will be open until midnight to Megacon goers, and portions of Universal Studios Orlando is literally just open to Megacon goers. I guess you have to get like a bracelet or something from Megacon, the people at the booth or whatever, but it's $100, which by the way is less than the cost of a ticket for admission to Universal's standard. So if you're already going to Megacon, then you could also go to this thing, and you get a $25 gift card to Universal Studios. And I'm like, okay, there's dinner.
Yeah.
And they got phenomenal restaurants. Voice crack. They got phenomenal restaurants at Universal. Like their chefs know what they're doing. So.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be having a good time.
That's awesome. And Joe, I definitely want to hear about it.
100%. But yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting because, maybe there's still time for them to announce more guests. I still see them trickling in, but some of the guests that they have is going to be really interesting. Got Millie Bobby Brown, who just got married, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I didn't.
Apparently, she had a secret wedding to just a totally normal dude, like high school sweethearts or something. And it's like,
That's
what?
Good.
Good for her. You don't need to make your whole life public just because you're a celebrity.
Exactly. That's one thing is like, I never want to bother the celebrities because it's like, listen, you didn't necessarily, I get that it's part of the job description, but like, they're people too. They need to have actual privacy, at least in some aspects of their life. It's the number of celebrities that actually want to constantly have people like near them is fairly limited.
Yeah.
Look, if they're at the con, if you're paying for signatures and stuff, cool. They're there. They're there for that. That's fine. But like, if I see one in public, just don't be like that,
Yeah.
So, good for them that she was able to have a wedding without it being paparazzized into just everything,
100%. What's funny is you mentioned people who are gonna want to be at cons and everything. Back for the second time in 2 months is Neil Newborn. Asterion again.
Oh yeah, Asterion.
This guy just loves Orlando, I guess, because he was at Holiday Matsuri during the Baldur's Gate panel, which was a lot of fun, by the way. But this guy,
a lot of fun, yeah.
This guy loves to hear himself talk, and we all love to hear him speak. So
see, it's fascinating because I've learned very much because my wife watched a lot of interviews with him and whatnot over the years as they were making the game, and I've come to learn a bit more about him. Apparently, when he's not on tour like this, he is fairly private, actually. But it very much does seem on or off. Like, hey, if I'm on tour, then I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna get the message out there, but then just kind of goes back to, all right, see y'all, and then just vanishes for a certain amount of time. It tells me that there's a good work-life balance there. But also, fun fact, his wife is the voice of the DM in Baldur's Gate 3, in case you didn't know that.
No kidding.
Yeah, the voice you hear that's like, you look around and find, that's his wife. That is Neil Newborn's wife.
The narrator, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I feel like that's, you don't get enough of that, especially with celebrities. I'm not gonna push this too much. If this person ever decides to come on the channel, we would absolutely love to have them. Welcome anytime. My sister happens to be friends with a relatively well-known celebrity. It's kind of kept quiet mainly for the purposes of this celebrity to, kind of keep a down low on the life, especially because as soon as it was sort of realized that my sister is friends with this person, she started getting a lot of weird messages and stuff on Instagram, and it's just stay away from that. Just keep it as down low as you can.
Just be normal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you were talking about, the work-life balance, especially when you're sort of a newbie in the the acting scene, whether that's voice acting or physical acting for movies or TV or anything else that you're doing there. Once you become someone with celebrity status, they really just don't turn off the work switch. It's a lot of like, I don't want to throw shade or anything. I know that this person's working very, very hard to make a good, successful life for themselves, but I think to that same extent, this person also, we would love to see this person. Childhood friends with my sister, so it's like we knew this person before they became famous, and now it's like kind of inaccessible just because like, hey, I can't spend time with you this month, even though I'm home for like 3 days this week because we're filming in Ireland, or I've got a press conference in Ontario, or I'm going to Paris for this press shoot, and it's like you just get ripped all over the place.
Oh yeah, I mean, life gets busy, absolutely. I mean, like when you've got a new job like that, it's just like any new job, but kind of dialed up, because any new job, I mean, suddenly you got to dive right in. You're not going to use your vacation days early on, but I can only imagine like a job like acting or voice acting, whatever it may be, can only add that and then some, because you've got additional travel, additional distances. And of course, now you have to be on the lookout for people who are trying to get sneak peeks of things or leaks of things. And it's got to be a lot to take in. I imagine a work-life balance comes with time, as we, with many things, but the road's probably pretty difficult at the beginning. So I ain't going to pry into who they are, lest I add to the problem I'm criticizing. But I do hope things go well for them.
100%. And hey, we'll probably reveal it if this person never decides to come on the channel. Wink, wink. But no, honestly, I don't want to, like, without their permission, especially, that would be very, very uncool.
Yeah, don't do that.
I don't ever want to exploit statuses, because at the end of the day, like, we love this person like family, and we don't want to like make it seem as if we're trying to somehow use celebrity status to better ourselves, because that's not the case. We just think,
don't do that.
We just think, like, I'm asking like my sister, hey, you want to come on the podcast? I'm asking, other personal friends, do you want to come on the podcast? And in some cases it's yes, and in a lot of cases it's no, or I don't have time to do that or whatever. And it's like, okay, you do you.
Right.
To that extent, for anybody who is famous and wants to be on this podcast, like 100%, you are welcome on here. I'm joking. Of course, anyone who's interested, you just let me know. But moving on to other conventions, I've really been looking at a lot of different conventions. Like I'd mentioned, we watch a lot of the cosplay videos, my sister and I. And there's definitely some conventions that I like. I have a wish list of places I'd like to go, specifically within the US. The most obvious, I think, has to be New York Comic Con. Like,
the big one.
The big one, the one that everyone aspires to go to. And we'd actually talked about it, like, hey, maybe we do that one of these years, is go to New York Comic Con, walk around Manhattan a little bit. You get to see, like, we'd been there a few years ago. Funny story, long story, so I'll summarize it. We went in 2019 on New Year's Eve. We did not stay for New Year's Eve. We left. But by the way, 2019 was the year that they had a massive COVID outbreak in New York. And it was the first outbreak. So we were there. Yeah. That was a little frightening.
Yeesh. Yeah, I can imagine. So, definitely.
But yeah, just to be able to go back would be a lot of fun. We haven't been there since 2019, so I know it's changed a good bit.
Of course.
Even so, New York is still sort of a very magical place for anybody who enjoys the big city. It's got sort of its own. It's got a lot of personality, a lot of character, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Especially compare that to a place like Orlando, or even I like Miami, but like even compare it to Miami, like New York's got a lot of character. But yeah, so that would definitely be one. Another one I'd love to go to personally, I see a lot of stuff from this, is the Anime Expo. And hand in hand with that is San Diego Comic-Con, because like, if you're gonna go to a Comic-Con convention, you gotta go to either New York or San Diego, or both, because they're the big ones.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Then there is a smaller convention, which I actually had to look up the name for because I could picture the images, but the whole thing is themed like swimsuit. And I know that sounds really pervy. That's not what I'm getting out of this. This is more just
I wasn't going to say anything.
the concept of like the entire convention takes place in, I think it's like what is that, like Wolf's Lodge or something like that? It's like an indoor water park.
Oh, yeah.
And
wow,
just the idea of a convention taking place inside a water park is really interesting.
That is unique. I like conventions with a theme.
Exactly. You know, like the conventions are a dime a dozen, I feel like. Even in my hometown, we've got like, like 2 or 3 different conventions that take place during the year, and they'll attract maybe a few hundred people, but it's like, listen, that's not the same thing as going to Holiday Matsuri or Megacon or some of these other ones.
No.
So, you know, and in a lot of cases, it's just a boring, like, community center or something with a bunch of tables with vendors. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Like, if you get a panel, you might get, like, I think at one point, I don't want to say this with any certainty, but I seem to recall seeing that they got Hulk Hogan or something. And it's like, okay, and who else? No, just Hulk Hogan. Cool.
Yeah, see, I was going to say, like, cons are fascinating. I like to support local cons, and then of course I like to go to any cons that have a particular theme. For instance, I absolutely love horror, be it Gothic, the classic, which is my personal favorite, or any of the more modern flavors, trending towards, you know, science fiction, cyberpunk, all that kind of stuff. And there is a convention over in, I believe it's Tampa, called Spookala, and they're just horror themed, and they'll get guests from horror films or horror literature and stuff like that. See, that's specific, that's themed. You'll get anime cosplayers at any con. You'll get furries at any con. But at the end of the day, the fact that it has a particular theme is like, I like this thing. Your dime a dozen comment is, I feel, partially true, because there's a lot of cons that want to pop up and be everything.
Yeah.
They may say, you know, I feel like a lot of the conventions that say anime or gaming convention is just kind of shorthand for please come here and be a nerd.
Yeah.
Which is great, don't get me wrong. I like HOLMAT, and as much as it does have a theme, Christmas, it is kind of that general sort of we accept all comers sort of con. And that's perfectly fine, but I like a con with a theme, or a con that's like for a region. There's a tiny comic and toy convention where I live down here in more of the... It's still in Central Florida, but it's just like the local communities, and it's a con of maybe only like a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people or so. But it has a cosplay contest. It's got enough vendors to fit a fairly sized vendor hall, and it's nice to see and support local artists and businesses and be like, oh, hey, you know, that's the sort of thing that I enjoy.
Oh yeah, and I can see both sides of it, right? Like,
oh yeah.
I have no problem with local conventions. I want to make that clear. I have no problem with them if you're executing it correctly. If you are celebrating something, let's say my hometown is known for oranges, right? So if they did something that was like an orange themed convention, but it was like, you know, nerd stuff within that, so it's like, okay, we're gonna do, you know, different things that are citrus themed or something like that, that would be really interesting. I don't have a problem with that because it's unique, it has some flavor to it. But if you're just bringing in, you know, it's like your insert your county Comic Con,
right,
it's probably not going to be that interesting. They may get a guest or two that's, you know, worth showing up for, and then it's just going to be your local vendors. And it's like, okay, well, you could just go to their comic book shops and support them directly, or you know, find their websites. Like, that's one of the things I like about you know, HOLMAT, and that is that it brings in everybody from the community. And then let's say you have your eye on something, but it's like, I just can't afford that right now. In a lot of cases, you can get their card and then reach out to them later and say, hey, can I get that thing? And they'll probably still have it, you know, because like, who dumps inventory just to dump inventory? But there's that side of it with the smaller, more themed stuff, and then there's obviously like the New York Comic Con, which are so broad and all-encompassing and so large that you're going to get a hefty bit of whatever you're looking for within that convention. So that's one of the things that really excites me about MegaCon, because, you know, full disclosure, I'm not really a superhero guy. I used to really enjoy the Marvel scene. I fell off after Infinity War. Like, I'll watch some stuff. The new Deadpool movie was really good. We did an episode about that, talking about you know, how good Deadpool was, the Deadpool and Wolverine. But, you know, I never grew up with comics. I don't really watch a lot of the DC stuff. Teen Titans, I used to watch it back in the day. Now it's Teen Titans Go, and I don't affiliate with that.
Nope.
But you know, like there's definitely things to pick out of it and say, yes, I really, really enjoy this. But it's not my scene particularly. And that's one of the things that like I stayed away from MegaCon, because I was like, oh, that's for like the comic book people, right? And then I'm like, no. It's video games, it's anime, it's TV and movies, and it's like, oh, so it's got something for literally everybody. Well, of course, I'm gonna go to that. So
that's the idea.
100%, I'll definitely look at that one. And the only other one that, oh, by the way, I will drop it in here because I didn't actually say the name. I definitely want to shout these guys out, because even though their website is dog doo-doo, yes, I am calling you on this because you've got like a 240p image banner. Like, come on, guys, I could upscale that for you. But that being the case, even though your site is not the greatest, I do have to pay respect to them. ColossalCon Texas. Very, very unique. I like that. I think it's very interesting. And if you have the chance to go to that. And then the last one I have on my list for like sort of wish list stuff is DragonCon, which is in Atlanta. If you're not familiar with that one, also has sort of a theme. But the cool thing about this is that not only do they have like the entire hotel and convention center, I think I don't know if it's like the Hyatt Regency in the area or something like that, but it's a many story building with a giant atrium where they have all this stuff going on in downtown Atlanta. But they also take over part of the streets and actually do parades with this one, which I think is really unique and very cool. They really turned it into like a regional celebration as opposed to just a bunch of nerds in a building.
See, that's unique.
Exactly.
I like that.
And that's where it's like, you know, as I'm looking at these things, it's like, okay, some of these are kind of cool, some of them are interesting, and as you said, you're gonna get awesome cosplay wherever you go, because, you know, if there's a convention, people will show up to it.
Yes.
Literally, you know, if we, what's the saying? If we build it, they will come, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely a thing here. But when it comes to being selective with your time and your money, like there's only so many conventions that I personally would be like, yes, I really want to go to that. And I think the ones I've named, the ones I named are the ones that I would personally go to. And then of course, small conventions nearby, which are very, very interesting.
Yes. See, that's what I'm talking about, is like, if I'm going to give my time and energy, it's either going to be something big enough to where I'm going to find plenty of good memories to build with that, like HOLMAT. And then maybe one day help Brave MegaCon, or something that's smaller and more focused. That's like, oh, I love this topic, I'm excited to go there. For instance, at Spookalla last year, quick background, I have a Halloween tradition of watching a film that used to be a lot more obscure, but has now recently become more popular. But I did this before it became more popular. I would watch a film called Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh boy.
Every Halloween. Because my dad showed it to me back when I was a teenager, and at some weird point around, I want to say like 2019 or so, suddenly, like Spirit Halloween especially started pushing it, and so suddenly everyone knows about it. But back then, it was a lot rare. Anyway, I have a tradition of watching that, and Spookalla last year had almost the whole cast at Spookalla, and so I was able to get signatures and ask questions, and that's cool to me, you know?
That's awesome.
I know, but that's the thing, like, specific and local cons I love, and of course, one or two big ones a year so that I can do a little bit of everything. That's what I'm all about. 100%.
And I gotta be honest, you know, looking at some of the cons that are in the area, like, I'm a little hesitant with some of these because, like, there really aren't many in Orlando. I see a lot of them popping up around Tampa, and it's like, okay, for me, that's about an hour and a half drive. So it's like, if there's something out there, if I'm gonna spend the money to go to it, like, it had better be a pretty good convention, especially one that, like, and I don't want to, you know, point fingers or say like, you know, you're not good enough or anything, but like
Right,
a well-established con I think is really important, because if you're going to ask, you know, $60 or $70 for the weekend for admission, and you only have, you know, 40 vendors and no major events, like, I think you're asking too much, because you're just asking admission for people to walk around in a room together. So, you know.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, we'll have to see. Like, Miami is definitely, I've seen a couple down there. Well, I don't know about this year, maybe next year, because finances anyway, but
oh gosh, yeah, the economy.
100%.
So, you know, speaking of conventions, I actually got my first convention experience. You mentioned this was your first con. Mine was, gosh, I was still in high school at the time. It was a decently sized convention called Kauai Con. It was located in Honolulu, Hawaii.
I have heard of that one, and so I would consider going to that with one caveat. I have to be absolutely loaded, because Hawaii is so stinking expensive to get there, to stay there, to eat there. Like, oh
yeah. Well, I had the fortune of, I'm an Air Force brat, so
okay.
I actually lived there at the time. This wasn't some special trip that I made just for that convention. I literally, like, it was a short drive and I was there.
Oh boy, aren't we all lucky then? I'm playing.
I get you. I don't know. The expense of like the only thing that was cheap there was certain fruits and like vegetables. That's it. Everything is expensive in Hawaii. I can talk about that at some point, but in short, that was my first actual like con, and I remember I tried to put together a Goku cosplay, and the pants didn't arrive in time because shipping, you know, Hawaii. But the pants didn't arrive in time, so I just kind of went with a little DBZ t-shirt. But I learned so much about the convention experience there. There was like a couple of the 501st there, you know, the Star Wars cosplay group that does professional cosplays.
Oh, I know them well.
That was, oh yeah, it was my first, you know, view of a vendor's hall. I was just fascinated. I fell in love with the whole scene. I went back the next year, and then when I moved back to the mainland, I started going to other cons with friends. And then, of course, once I moved back down here to Florida itself, I found Holiday Matsuri as a big convention, and I was like, oh yeah, I can go to that, and I kind of just made it an annual tradition since.
There you go. So it's funny you mentioned the 501st and everything, because despite me saying this was my first convention, that's technically not true. I had gone one time before when I was a teenager to the Star Wars Celebration, when they actually had it in Orlando, because I guess they move. Yeah. They move around, so
they do.
This was like, I think I was like 13, so this was, gosh, that was almost 15 years ago. Wow. So like technically I had been to that. I was a lot more like reserved. Obviously I was a kid, so I was kind of course, you know, nervous about going to something so big. I went with another friend who was a total dweeb, and you know, we just basically ran around and lived out our Star Wars, because I was a Star Wars kid, like growing up.
Heck yeah. Same.
That was my upbringing, was like I grew up with the original, I will say original 6, because to me, like, you know, I grew up with Phantom Menace was released in, what was it, 99?
99. Oh, did you ever have like the new essential guides, like the big books that had, like, there was the new essential guide to droids, the new essential guide to ships? Do you ever have those?
I think I might have had the one for ships. I definitely had like the ultimate guide to the galaxy or whatever, which was, I actually got it signed by the guy who like wrote the book.
Nice. Was it the big black book, like Vader's on the cover, and it's like, it goes over everything?
Yes.
That was my prized possession as a kid. I loved that thing.
I still have it. it's in a box somewhere because it's one of those things like I don't have space in my room for it, but
right.
I definitely was like, I'm never getting rid of this.
I think my parents are holding on to it for me. This will derail the whole thing if we talk about it. So
100% go for it.
We've got to have a podcast talk about Star Wars at some point. But in short, I loved it. I played the Battlefronts growing up. I was absolutely just ecstatic about Star Wars. I had the whole like technical readouts and all that stuff. We got to have a different podcast about it because that will completely derail this one.
1,000%. We will make that a dedicated episode because I see that as like perfect nerd talk.
Oh yeah.
Especially with the overlap with video games, because like Star Wars has had sort of a weird relationship with video games over the years. And now it feels like it kind of found where it needs to be, but at the same token, then they did, what was it, the Star Wars Rogue Legends or whatever it is that Ubisoft released, and it was like,
I was gonna say, I remember a lot of the edutainment titles as a kid from Star Wars, like Star Wars Math, or one of my personal favorites, Star Wars Droid Works, which was a stealth education game that taught a lot about physics and simple machines and things like that, all under the guise of, oh, you're doing missions and making droids. Very sneaky, but I loved it.
Interesting.
Again, I'm sorry, I'm gonna end up going on the whole tangent now, so we'll save it for later, but
100%.
Star Wars good, we talk about that later.
100%. Well, I will say Star Wars used to be good, and I'm gonna put that little pin in that. We'll discuss that. So
yeah,
but without getting too far away from that. So that was the first convention I ever got an opportunity to go to, and it was a lot of fun. But I remember being like, I don't know, maybe the conventions just aren't for me. And yeah, I feel like having someone to go to a convention with makes all the difference. Like it
does. If you go alone, it's just not that fun. You got to go with friends.
And that's the thing. Like I especially would look for people on the Discord who are like, hey, I'm going. This is my first time. I don't have anybody to go with, and I'm like, group up with us. Like you want to be friends. Like I'm cool with that. You hang out with us.
Gang up, have a good time.
Yeah, like we're all nerds here. I'm sure we'll find something to talk about, unless you're just a total weirdo, which. I'll be honest.
Right.
Most of the people at HOLMAT, again, bringing it back to that. Most of the people at HOLMAT were like super, super chill. I only encountered 2 people, I think, that I would be like, I don't really want to be around you. And one of them was literally the last panel. It actually ran overtime, past 5 p.m. on Sunday.
Really?
This dude, I'll call him out to this degree. He was dressed as Zenitsu. Was doing it was basically like competing for a prize, but it was supposed to be super casual, and the host was like super casual about it, and this dude's basically losing his mind over no, he cheated and this and that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, come on.
Good gosh.
Like it's the last day of the convention. It's like in the final minutes of this, and you're gonna throw a temper tantrum over this stuff. Like, come on, dude, just read the room.
Yeah, just chill, have a good time. Oh yeah, no, there really weren't any bad apples this go round. Not to imply that there usually are or anything, but I'll say this: conventions are a fantastic opportunity for people who don't normally, go outside that much, like me, to go outside and talk and interact with other people. And you can get that impression sometimes. I definitely had some conversations with people where I could tell they had a difficult time with social cues and whatnot, but to the same degree, I wasn't offended by that. If anything, I was quite glad, because I'm like, this is great. This is good interaction with people. It's
like
nice to see people. Right, exactly. Because without going into it, like, I had to kind of learn how to interact with people almost manually. So to see other people going out who don't have too much practice, it's good. I think it's a good thing, and I think that these conventions serve a very important purpose in a lot of communities that tend to be built around things where you're usually fairly insular, like watching anime or playing video games and that sort of thing.
100%. Yeah, and I guess the way to sum up the whole convention talk is really just say, if you are a nerd, and yes, I am talking to you, audience, if you are a nerd, which I believe you are if you're watching this, if you enjoy spending time either looking at cosplay, or you like shopping, you like just being around other people. Heck, even if you just want to try being around other people and you can tolerate the crowds, find your local convention. And I'm not talking about,
definitely.
I'm not talking about, find the one that's in your backyard necessarily. You might have to drive, 20, 30 minutes. Like, I live about 40 minutes from the Orlando Convention Center, or the Orange County Convention Center.
Carpool.
It was worth it. 100%. I didn't mind the drive. Every day that I was there, I was exhausted, but you know what? I had an amazing time. If you can tolerate being around large numbers of people, do it, because it's worth it.
And even if you're a little nervous about that fact, I would encourage, look at a good con. Like, okay, you might not want to dive in with Comic Con itself or Megacon, or do, it's up to you. But if you are a little nervous, look for smaller conventions. But that said, give it a try. Obviously, if you're just like absolutely mortified at it, okay, maybe dip your toes somewhere else. But if you're a little nervous about crowds, but you love these sorts of topics, I challenge you, give it a try. Not only will it be good experience and good practice, kind of help you confront your fears while still being in a comfort zone of something you like, but you'll probably meet some people that you can get along with well. Case in point, I met this guy here, and now I'm a podcast guest. Pretty neat.
There you go. That's exactly it. And that's exactly the my point that I was getting at is, like you're gonna find something you enjoy with it. So as Mr. Iron said, just give it a try, give it a shot. And I will say, if you are very scared that there's not going to be any room for this is too overwhelming, a lot of these places also have like a quiet room where you can kind of just go and be away from people. So
they do.
Don't feel like, you're going to be stuck in a room with 50,000 strangers the entire time. That's not the case. So
yeah, no, there were fantastic quiet moments. One of my more hilarious memories of the most recent con was during one of those quiet moments, my buddy and I, we were walking from the hotel back through, and we went through a big room that was mostly just quiet. And we see some dude just shuffling through to probably get back to his hotel. I realize he's wearing like old style pajamas, long cap, blue stripes, all that kind of stuff. I realize he's holding something. I was like, is that a candlestick? He was Ebenezer Scrooge. He was cosplaying Ebenezer
awesome.
Scrooge. And it was great because he had to walk too. He was like shuffling his feet, and my buddy was like, "Hey, that's a great cosplay." Man looked at him with a scowl and said, "Bah humbug," and kept walking.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Did you?
I know, but
did you see the guy that was dressed as the conductor from the Polar Express?
I did. I also saw the Polar Express itself. Someone was dressed as a train.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Oh, I hope they met.
So I have news on this one. I talked to the guy on Sunday. I got my sister to take a picture with him, and he actually was mentioning. Oh, first of all, once he took a picture, he pulled out a golden ticket and punched it. And I'm like,
yes,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
I love that.
He said that he went all 3 days as that cosplay, but unfortunately he did not get the chance to meet up with the train because he would be like in passing, and they would be like, he would like go up to them and they'd be like taking it off, and then like later on he'd find them and they're on like the other side of the convention floor, so he just never got a chance. And it's a darn shame, but man. You know what?
It is.
They brought the spirit of the convention.
That's true. That's very true. I also love when like convention goers, especially in cosplay, bring something that fits. For instance, at one point, I ran into Steve from Blue's Clues and Blue from Blue's Clues, and they were handing out clue stickers. I asked for a picture, and he handed me the stickers.
That's awesome.
And then at one point, my buddy walked up to Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony, and she was handing out like the little rubber balls that you can get in like those little gotcha machines. Just handing them out for free, and it was just great.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this episode of Tavern Talks 2.0. I want to throw a huge thanks out to the voice of Iron for coming on the show this week. It was a ton of fun to have him on, and I'm looking forward to part 2, where we discuss plans for the new year and dig into some ideas for content into February and beyond. His channel is linked in the description, so make sure you guys check him out. We've got a great episode coming out next week with Alex, where we're going to discuss some of the best games to come out of the 2020 so far, since we're already halfway through the decade. How can you even believe that? But anyways, thanks again for watching, and as always, stay awesome.